The top stories tonight in Y News. A lower house committee denies ABS-CBN's franchise application.
Malacanang recognizes a House resolution denying ABS-CBN's franchise renewal.
The country's health department cautions the public of the possibility of COVID-19 airborne transmission.
Remains of 49 Filipino workers from Saudi Arabia return home and cremated.
Australia will reduce to half the number of citizens allowed to return home from overseas each week.
NBA 2019-2020 season returns on July 30.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, July 10, 2020. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's stories around the globe. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I'm Angelo Castro III.
First in the news, discussions over ABS-CBN Corporation's franchise renewal application ended today with a no as an answer. Ray Pelayo explains why.
The House of Representatives Committee on Legislative Franchise junked ABS-CBN Corporation's bid for a 25-year franchise. Presided by Committee Chairman Representative Franz Alvarez, the lawmakers voted on whether or not to adopt the report of the committee's Technical Working Group, or TWD, recommending to reject the franchise application of ABS-CBN. Of the 85 lawmakers, mostly present online, 70 voted yes, adopting the TWG report. 11 opposed, 2 inhibited, and only 1 abstained.
The resolution to deny ABS-CBN's franchise application is hereby adopted. Pursuant to Section 49 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, all House bills and House resolutions relative to the grant or renewal of the franchise application of ABS-CBN Corporation are hereby laid on the table.
Ano po ba ang ibig sabihin ng laid on the table, Mr. Chair?
Para sir na ano na siya, kill.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Ibig sabihin po, itong usapin patungkol sa pagre-renew ng application ng ABS-CBN ay hindi lang po isinantabi. Ito po ay tinapos na ngayong araw na ito, Mr. Chair. Tama po ba?
That is correct.
Among those who voted no to the resolution were House Minority Leader Benny Abante and Deputy Minority Leader Carlos Zarate, meaning they are in favor of the renewal of ABS-CBN's franchise. The hearing lasted for 100 hours in 14 days. The issues tackled include the turnover of ABS-CBN to Lopez family, the 50-year franchise limit, Mr. Gabby Lopez citizenship, the company's issuance of Philippine depositary receipts, issues in labor, tax, and allegations of bias reporting. ABS-CBN signed off on May 5 after the National Telecommunications Commission issued a cease and desist order coinciding with the franchise expiration. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Malacanang recognizes the decision of the House of Representatives Committee on Legislative Franchises on denying ABS-CBN's franchise renewal. In a statement, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says this is a sole prerogative of Congress. Although the palace has maintained a neutral stance on the issue, it respects the separation of powers between the two co-equal branches of government. Secretary Roque added that although Malacanang wants to work with the media giant, the Duterte administration has to abide by the resolution of the House Committee.
ABS-CBN Corporation CEO and President Carlo Katigbak is hurt by the House decision today, yet he says he is thankful. Vincent Arboleda tells us why.
Around 300 individuals flocked to ABS-CBN Broadcast Center at Sergeant Esguerra Street in Quezon City to show their support to the giant media network. Some carried banners and placards with words "No to shutdown" and "Yes to ABS-CBN franchise." Manila paper was posted on the grills of the wall of the broadcast station, showing the names of legislative franchise members of the House of Representatives and their corresponding votes. With the decision of the Committee on Legislative Franchise to deny the renewal, supporters and employees were saddened and hurt by the results. Even the Chief Executive Officer and President of ABS-CBN expressed that he is hurt by the results of the hearing. Despite the decision, Katigbak thanks the Franchise Committee for the opportunity to be heard and answer allegations against the network. Katigbak also thanked all their supporters and the lawmakers who filed for the renewal of their franchise. The ABS-CBN CEO says the station will remain committed to public service. He adds they are hoping to find ways to achieve their mission and looking forward to the day that they will be reunited with their supporters through broadcast. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
It is not only responding to the coronavirus pandemic that the Duterte administration is facing as a huge challenge, but also politicking in the middle of it. Our Malacanang correspondent Rosalie Cos explains why.
Political tension in the United States of America rises as the November presidential elections approach. The USA as of today has recorded more than 3 million confirmed coronavirus infections with more than 100,000 deaths. According to Dr. Edna Ko, a political analyst and a dean of the University of the Philippines National College of Public Administration and Governance, in terms of the current situation, the Philippines is better than America. But as the 2022 national elections in the Philippines come near, easing political differences remains a big challenge for the Duterte administration.
And in fairness, no, mas nababalansin pa natin ng konti kesa dun sa US. Pero dahil papalapit na ang eleksyon, ang danger ng 2 years na lang bago mag-eleksyon ay yung paano ipapaliitin, i-decrease yung mga overriding political agenda. No, napakahirap gawin ito kasi the closer we get to election time, mas iigting ang mga pagkakaiba-iba, ang differences, at magkakaroon ng pagsisiraan, lalakas yung mga sariling interes tungo sa politika.
Yesterday, Malacanang reiterated the appeal of President Duterte to set aside politics in this time of health crisis.
May panahon po para sa lahat. Ngayon po, tutukan mo natin ang COVID-19. At doon sa mga namumulitika, huhusgahan naman po siguro sila ng taong bayan. Dahil ngayon po talaga, hindi po yan panahon.
However, Dr. Ko also mentions about current issues in which politicking arises, such as the franchise renewal of media giant ABS-CBN Corporation. She says this is not only a simple issue because it talks about the possibility of job loss not only for a few people.
Sa pagtingin ko, maraming kababayan natin na nag-iisip sa ganong paraan na ang desisyon sa pag-suppress, sa pagpipigil, sa pangungulit, doon sa pagbibigay ng prangkisa ay isang politically motivated question na at this point in time, dapat ito ay hindi mangibabaw. Kung hindi, tingnan natin sa kabilang banda. Ilan ang binabantaan, ang threatened ng pagkawala ng employment? Ilan ang maaapektuhan pag ito ay hindi nagpatuloy ng mawawalan ng trabaho?
The expert reiterates the importance of government officials balancing livelihood and health security. Rosa Licoz, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte declares 2020 as the Year of Filipino Health Workers through Proclamation number 976. This is to commemorate the immeasurable acts of heroism and selfless compassion of nurses, midwives, and all health workers. It also aims to give due honor to the health providers who sacrificed their lives in the lines of service, especially during this health crisis. The Department of Health is directed to lead, coordinate and supervise the nationwide observance of the Year of Filipino Health Workers. All national government agencies and other instrumental agencies are encouraged to participate and render the necessary report and assistance to the DOH for the implementation of this proclamation.
Meralco customers will have less electric bill this month. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Almost 3 centavos per kilowatt hour will be deducted from the electric bills of Meralco customers. This will mean about 6 to 14 pesos per kilowatt hour of deduction for residential customers that consume 200 to 500 kilowatt hour a month. Meralco attributes the power price cut to the lower price of generation charge. Meralco recorded around 1.8 billion pesos of customers' savings from March to June due to the force majeure claims. The improving value of peso also contributes to the reduction of power price.
Bagamat tumaas na ng bahagya ang demand, ito ay mababa pa rin kumpara nung normal times bago tayo magkaroon ng ECQ.
The power distributor also reminds its customers to bring proof of payment of their bills and government ID when claiming refund. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Department of Energy assures there will be enough supply of electricity across the country for the rest of the year. Dante Amento tells us why.
Community quarantines designed to fight the COVID-19 pandemic have a positive impact on the country's power supply or reserve, according to Department of Energy or DOE Assistant Secretary Redentor de Lola. Mindanao currently has the most power reserve. Data show the demand for electricity has decreased since community quarantine were implemented. Power demand in Luzon decreased by 30% or about 3,000 megawatts during the ECQ period. Luzon has an actual gross reserve power of more than 3,000 megawatts, which is higher than combined demand of Visayas and Mindanao. Of the 13,000 megawatts available capacity last July 6, only 10,000 megawatts was the actual peak demand.
Mahalaga po to to ensure that ang ating pangangailangan, lalong-lalo na po sa ating mga tahanan na pangangailangan natin sa supply ng kuryente ay nandyan po. At wala po tayong inaasahang problema sa supply.
Power demand in Visayas has decreased by an average of 19% and 20% in Mindanao. The DOE assures enough supply of power across the country for the entire year. Meanwhile, the DOE continues to coordinate with various agencies to create a precautionary plan for possible interruptions. This is also in support to the Department of Education for its online learning classes, which rely on electricity. The Energy Department stresses that having enough or a huge power reserve is not a guarantee to avoid interruptions.
Minaamin po natin na hindi naman natin may iwasan lahat ng power outages. Meron po talagang mga hindi natin kayang pigilan, no? May mga emergency na nangyayari tulad ng for example, may posting na bangga.
Dante Amento, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The country's health department cautions the public of the possibility of COVID-19 airborne transmission. Our health correspondent Itcz Miguel tells us why.
The health department is not setting aside the possibility of airborne COVID-19 transmission. Although the study is not yet proven, the DOH cautions the public to take precautionary measures.
Gayunpaman, bilang precaution, importante po ang patuloy na pagsunod sa ating minimum health standards. Malaking tulong po ang pagsusuot ng mask sa kahit anong environment or setting. Kabilang din po ang paghuhugas lagi ng kamay, physical distancing at palagi ang pagsusuot ng mask kung kayo ay lalabas ng bahay. Tandaan niyo po, prevention is still our best protection upang maiwasan natin ang pagkahawa mula sa sakit na ito.
The DOH made this caution because of the release letter to World Health Organization of the more than 200 scientists on the airborne COVID-19 transmission. Based on their study, talking, coughing, sneezing, singing, and even breathing can release smaller particles less than 5 microns called aerosols or microdroplets. For airborne transmission to occur, these particles have to stay in the air and remain infectious over time. Although the WHO acknowledges the scientists' study, WHO still hold on to their position that COVID-19 is transmitted through droplets. WHO will release public a scientific brief summary in the coming days on the modes of transmission of COVID-19.
This is a respiratory pathogen, and so it is important that what we know fits into the guidance that we have, which is why a comprehensive package of interventions are required to be able to stop transmission.
According to the DOH, they are continuously studying evidences to give information to the public and give reminders to combat COVID-19.
Patuloy po tayong natututo tungkol sa SARS-CoV-2 at COVID-19 ayon sa mga bagong ebidensya na lumalabas mula sa pag-aaral dito. Kabilang na nga po dito ang mode of transmission or paraan ng pagkalat ng COVID-19. It's an evolving science and new evidence continues to roll out.
The DOH repetitively reminds the public to observe minimum health standards, to also avoid getting infected with those called a silent spreader or asymptomatic but are positive of COVID-19. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A motorcycle riders group say they are not in favor of using protective shield. Leah Ilagan will tell us why.
A protective shield is not needed for a motorcycle rider with his wife as the back rider. Motorcycle Federation of the Philippines Director Atoy Santa Cruz explains that the rider and his wife lived in the same house, so there is no need to use such barrier. He adds wearing a helmet is enough for protection and that a protective gear is inconvenient for the rider apart from posing danger.
Lahat naman ng helmet merong face shield. Okay, protection na yan. Pag magpapakarga ka ng gasolina, tatanggalin mo yan kasi nandun sa ilalim yung gas tank natin, sa ilalim ng upuan. Pagka na-disgrasya ka o nagkaroon kayo ng road crash, sumemplang kayo mag-asawa, may posibilidad yung metal frame niya tumusok sa backride dyan o sa asawa mo na ang kas mo.
Santa Cruz further explains that a motorcycle is designed as aerodynamic.
Pagka nilagyan mo yan, wala na yung asawa mo, pauwi ka na, nakatapat ka ng malakas na hangin, baka maging windbreaker yan, mabibigan ang motor mo. Masisira yung balance ng rider.
This morning, the PNP Highway Patrol Group reminded motorcycle riders on Commonwealth Avenue who were driving without a protective shield. But Joint Task Force Coronavirus Shield Commander, Police Lieutenant General Guillermo Eliazar says, in the next few weeks, the HPG will apprehend those who will violate the protocol of placing a protective shield between the rider and the back rider.
Wala namang babawal sa ating pulis na hulihin ang mga yan kasi nga bawal kung meron paglabag doon sa panuntunan. Kaya nakikiratag tayo pero basically tayo nananawagan sa ating mga kababayan na kung kayo ay may mga gagamit ng mga motorsiklo na wala pa nitong mga barrier na ito na merong shield, eh huwag na kayong lumabas. Ano ba naman yung 116 days na kayo po ay sumunod dyan, i-comply niyo muna yung requirement bago kayo lumabas.
Leah Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Department of the Interior and Local Government warns that authorities will apprehend motorcycle backriding without physical barriers. Asher Kadapan Jr. will tell us why.
Authorities have allowed backriding on motorcycles for couples or cohabitants starting today. The riders should provide identification cards and documents proving their marriage or having the same residence. They should also use a physical barrier between the driver and the passenger, but law enforcers are lenient in the initial days of its implementation. The Department of the Interior and Local Government warns violators of strict implementation of the law in the coming days.
Sa ngayon po, magwa-warning muna ang ating kapulisan, ngunit sa mga susunod na araw, kung wala pa rin pong mga dokumento man or mga physical barrier na kakabit, ay baka po magkaroon na ng apprehension ang ating kapulisan.
Despite the inconvenience brought about by the protocols, motorists agree with its implementation for everyone's safety.
Tama lang po yung pinatutupad ng ating PNP at saka ng frontliner. Tama po yan. Dapat pong sitahin.
Yun lang. Pero okay na rin. Kasama sa protocol yan. Kung kailangan ng gobyerno ng ganong sistema, di okay. Sunod tayo.
A prototype physical barrier recommended by the provincial government, led by Governor Arthur Yap, was the first design approved by the National Task Force COVID. A federation of motorcycle in the country, however, explains it will cause road hazard as it loses stability of the motorcycle.
Magiging windbreaker to. Kasi ang motorcycle natin, ginawa yan para yung aerodynamic, walang nakakasagabal.
But motorcycle driver Richard Hawkeye said that accidents may be avoided if motorcycle drivers will drive carefully.
Kailangan ingat, dandahan lang. Hindi pwede yung arurot. Kailangan para may hatid yung asawa ng maayos, wala namang aksidente yan, pagdandahan lang.
Richard also installed his self-designed physical barrier to his motorcycle for 1,000 pesos to comply with the safety protocol. Netizens, on the other hand, shared different photos showing physical barriers in motorcycles that made social media laughs. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In other news, the remains of more than 40 OFWs who died in Saudi Arabia in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic arrived in Manila. Their families are assured of government assistance. Joining us tonight is one of our senior correspondents, Joanne Nano, to tell us why live.
Good evening, William. After several delays and a tedious process, the Philippine government was able to bring home the remains of 48 overseas Filipino workers and a Filipino infant who had died in Saudi Arabia. An arrival honor was held today at Villamor Air Base in Pasay City with the presence of several cabinet members of President Duterte to express their condolences to the bereaved families. 20 of the repatriates succumbed to COVID-19, while 29 others died due to various reasons. Let us hear the statement of Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, who is also the chairperson of IATF Task Group for Repatriation of OFWs.
Tulad ng marami ang nais nating bati sana para sa mga OFWs, ay ang madalas na mainit at napagbati ng maligayang pagdating sa lupang sinilangan. Ngunit sa malungkot na pagkakataong ito, mula sa bumubuo ng National COVID-19 Task Force at isang bansang lumuluksa, maraming salamat at paalam sa inyo aming mga kababayan.
William, after the ceremony, the remains were immediately forwarded to different crematoriums where their families were waiting. The Department of Labor and Employment has earlier discussed that the bodies of OFWs who died from COVID-19 will immediately be cremated, while for those who had died a natural death, their families can decide for their funeral.
Yes, Joanne, will the families of those OFWs receive any cash assistance from the Philippine government?
Yes, William, DOLE assures the families will receive cash assistance and other benefits from the government. Also, DOLE is set to repatriate another batch of remains of overseas Filipino workers. 44 out of 274 remains should be flown from Saudi Arabia this coming Sunday. Saudi Arabia has extended its July 4 deadline to repatriate the bodies of those OFWs. And according to DOLE, William, 129 of the 274 OFWs died from COVID-19 and 145 died due to natural causes. William?
Yes, thank you, Joanne, for that report. The Manila Railway Transit or MRT management plans to reopen MRT3 to passengers on Sunday. According to engineer Michael Kapati, MRT3 Director for Operations, the minimum workforce needed at the depot and at train stations to be able to operate is available. When MRT3 reopens, passengers must give their personal details needed for contact tracing. The process will be manual at least until the Department of Transportation Transportation finds a partner company for the digital process. The MRT management appeals to passengers to use beep cards only or pay an exact amount to minimize physical contact with ticket sellers.
Actually, may magkakaroon naman sila ng oras kasi kahit paano naghihintay naman sila sa linya. And then ang huling information lang naman na ilalagay nila yung thermal scanning. Kung ilang temperature yan. Wala ring contact sa empleyado kasi meron drop box.
The Light Rail Manila Corporation reminds passengers on LRT Line 1 that talking is not allowed on the trains. LRMC reiterates that COVID-19 can be transmitted through respiratory droplets, which are produced when speaking, coughing, and sneezing. This is why LRT1 passengers are told to avoid speaking with fellow passengers. A no face mask or face covering, no entry policy is also in place throughout LRT Line 1. Only passengers with normal body temperature are allowed to board LRT1.
More than 300 construction workers in Fort Bonifacio, Taguig City turned positive with COVID-19. Dante Amento tells us why.
Barangay Fort Bonifacio has the highest number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Taguig City. 327 construction workers in a construction site in Bonifacio Global City have been infected with the deadly virus. This is 81% of the 413 total COVID-19 cases in the barangay. The confirmed cases are now in government quarantine facilities. Other construction workers at the Barangay Fort Bonifacio Multipurpose Building construction site underwent rapid testing today.
Medyo, siyempre, makakaba din kasi paano ko pong may positive, di mari siguro matigil ang trabaho, di kawawa rin kami.
Arnel Sansan, project site engineer, said they want to ensure their workers are not carriers of the virus.
To ensure na yung mga namin dito, mga tao is COVID-free, ganun. Na wala po silang mga sintomas ng COVID.
Arnel adds, they remind their workers to always wear a face mask and observe minimum health standards.
Nahihirapan daw silang guminhawa, tas minsan parang nakakalimutan nila na isuot yung mask.
Meanwhile, Barangay 93 in Caloocan City will also be placed under lockdown on July 12 until July 18 due to high number of positive COVID-19 cases. Based on the report from the City Health Department, Barangay 93 has a total of 28 COVID-19 positive cases. Galicia Street in Barangay Bangkulasi in Navotas City was also placed for more than 20 days of lockdown. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Let's now take a closer look at the updated count of coronavirus cases around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has now reached a total of more than 12.2 million confirmed cases in 188 countries, regions, and sovereignty. More than 200,000 cases across the globe have been reported since yesterday. The fast-spreading disease has claimed over 555,000 lives, while more than 6.7 million patients across the globe have recovered from the new coronavirus infection. Thanks be to God. Meanwhile, the country's Department of Health says that 1,233 new cases were reported today, including 848 fresh ones and 385 late reported. 544 of the new cases are from the National Capital Region, while 58 are patients in Central Visayas. That raises the total confirmed cases of coronavirus infection in the Philippines to 52,914. That is as of 4 p.m. today. We have lost 42 more patients, but through our fervent prayers, medical interventions, and sacrifices of our medical frontliners, 286 more people have won their battle against the invisible enemy. That brings the total number of recoveries nationwide to 13,230. Thanks be to God.
The Kidapawan city government is now worried about the widespread destruction caused by fall army worms on cornfields in their city. The areas affected are barangays Paco, Junction, and Tumbak, according to the local government. They are worried the fall army worms would spread to other areas, so authorities have to call on corn farmers to tell them to seek help from the city agriculture office. The city government has also provided insecticides as initial assistance to the affected farmers to eliminate the pest. The city government of Binyan in Laguna Province will begin to implement the use of a mobile application called Bind 360 next week. Mac Cordova details why.
To aid in the city government's tracking efforts on contacts of COVID-19 patients and track people's movements, Binyan residents are directed to use Bind or Binyan Development 360. This mobile application was developed by the city's Information and Communications Technology Office. Through this, the job of BERT or the Barangay Health Emergency Response Team to trace people who might have had contact with the persons infected with the new coronavirus will be a lot easier.
Ang konsepto nito ay para mapabilis ang contact tracing, 'di ba, yung tracking ng movement ng tao, no? Pero bakit kailangan natin malaman yung movement ng tao? Ito ay para mas mapabilis yung trabaho ng BERTs ng Barangay Health Emergency Response Team sa pagko-contact trace.
Through a city ordinance, Binyan residents are required to register and use Bind 360. People who are working and running their businesses in Binyan must also register. The application will ask for a user's complete name, contact details, and complete address. But Councilor Alatiet assures that this app will not breach the Data Privacy Act.
Huwag po kayong mag-alala, ito po ay safe. Ang kailangan lang po nating malaman ay yung log po kung saan lang po kayo nagpunta. Hindi po namin malalaman na mismo sa oras na to alam namin kung nasan kayo. Hindi po ganon.
Upon registering, a QR code will be generated, which is unique for every user. Binyan residents who do not use a smartphone will be given a QR code alongside their quarantine pass to be able to log in the app's database. Binyan is the first city in Laguna to develop such contact tracing app. Mac Cordova, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Intertropical Convergence Zone or Itcz is affecting southern Mindanao. State Weather Bureau Pag-asa says this may cause cloudy skies with scattered rain showers and thunderstorms over Zamboanga Peninsula, Tocsargen, Davao Region, and Caraga. Meanwhile, Manila and the rest of the country may experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers mostly in the afternoon or evening due to localized thunderstorms. Possible flash floods or landslides may occur during severe thunderstorms. No tropical cyclone advisory is issued.
And for the news abroad, here's Mariel Latosa live from Perth, Australia. Good evening, Mariel, and what have you got for us tonight?
Good evening as well, William. William, today Australia will reduce to half the number of citizens allowed to return home from overseas each week. Meanwhile, a president in another South American country tests positive for the novel coronavirus. Also, I will tell you why the Trump administration declares a victory.
Tell us why.
Australia will reduce to half the number of citizens allowed to return home from overseas each week. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said today the country will cap the number of arrivals at 4,000 people every week. Those who return will also have to pay for their quarantine stays. Since March, Australia has allowed only citizens and permanent residents to enter the country. Once they arrive, they enter a mandatory 14-day quarantine in hotels, which is paid for by state governments. Neighboring New Zealand enacted measures earlier this week to limit the number of citizens returning home to reduce the burden on its overflowing quarantine facilities. On the other hand, Queensland opened its borders to all other states and territories, except Victoria, the Australian state with the highest number of coronavirus patients, with 1,172 active cases as of today. Victoria reported a single-day jump jump of 288 new cases today, which marked a record for the state, making up the most of the active cases in the country. The state's chief health officer warned there would be a sharp rise in hospitalizations, intensive care cases, and deaths in the coming days as a result of the spike in infections. Even with the latest outbreak, Australia has done relatively well in controlling the novel coronavirus so far, with around 9,000 cases and 106 deaths. Meanwhile, Bolivia's President Janine Áñez said on Thursday she has tested positive for the novel coronavirus. Áñez said in a tweet she was well and continuing to work while in isolation. Together, we will come out of this, she said. The Bolivian government confirmed that at least 7 ministers, including its health minister, had tested positive and were either undergoing treatment or recuperating at home. Áñez said she had submitted herself to a test, given that many of her team had fallen ill. Bolivia, a nation of over 11.5 million people, has registered more than 42,000 confirmed cases of the disease and 1,500 deaths. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro warns the elderly and immunocompromised individuals to protect themselves against the coronavirus. Bolsonaro, who has tested positive for COVID-19, has been heavily criticized for leading what many call a botched response to the spread for the coronavirus in Brazil. The president's office issued a video of Bolsonaro talking about the virus. He said the elderly in particular should protect themselves. Still, he urged Brazilians to stay calm. His comments came as the Brazilian Press Association on Thursday filed a criminal complaint to the Supreme Court against him after he took off his mask in a televised interview in which he announced he had tested positive. The 65-year-old Brazilian president is currently in quarantine and has said he is feeling well. In other news, the White House declared victory on Thursday in a ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court on whether U.S. President Donald Trump must reveal his personal financial records to congressional investigators and to a grand jury in New York. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany asserted it was pretty clear that this was a win for the president. The Supreme Court ruled that a New York prosecutor can get Trump's financial records, but prevented, at least for now, the Democratic-led House of Representatives from obtaining similar documents. That case will continue in lower courts. Trump on Thursday described the Supreme Court rulings as a hoax and political witch hunt. Seoul residents expressed shock and regret over the sudden death of the city's mayor. Park Won-soon, one of South Korea's most prominent elected officials and mayor of the capital Seoul since 2011, was found dead early today after he was reported missing by his daughter amid a criminal probe and media reports of alleged sexual harassment. The mayor's death came after one of Park's former secretaries filed a complaint alleging the 64-year-old had sexually harassed her, the Yonhap news agency reported. Police confirmed a criminal complaint had been made against Park but did not elaborate on the nature of the allegations. So Jong-yup, first vice mayor for administrative affairs, will take Park's place as acting mayor.
I express my deepest condolences to the citizens. City affairs should be firmly continued without a break, according to Mayor Park Won-soon's values that prioritized stability and welfare. From today, I work as an acting mayor.
Meanwhile, voters in Singapore head to polling stations today despite risks of COVID-19 community transmission. Annie Mancilia will tell us why.
The polling day for General Elections 2020 here in Singapore was set today. On April 7, a parliamentary elections bill provided and called this COVID-19 Special Arrangements Bill. It is intended to allow the Elections Department, or ELD, to carry out temporary arrangements and contingency plans in the event of general elections in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Due to the virus threat, There are restrictions in physical campaigning activities based on the rules of the Ministry of Health regarding safe distancing measures. This allowed the candidates to use virtual space for their campaigns.
What can I say about the online campaigning? Well, now there's no limitation in terms of audience. You can now freely speak to as many Singaporeans as possible. It all depends on how much support you can get. Now you can get anybody who comes to know where you are speaking, they just go to the YouTube, they just go to the Facebook, they go to Instagram, go to whatever media is available. So there is no limitation of space, there's no limitation of constraint, no limitation of venue. You can speak to your heart content.
This time around is so much more convenient and easy for me as a voter to find information about the candidates contesting in my constituency. As a voter, I will want to make an informed decision, so I will make a conscious effort to go online, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram or YouTube, to find out information about the different political parties in terms of their manifestos, their policies and what they stand for.
The polling day started at 8 in the morning and ended at 8 o'clock tonight. To avoid overcrowding in the polling stations, the Elections Department provided additional polling stations and provided recommended voting time band for voters. COVID-19 patients and persons under quarantine order are not allowed to vote. Voters under stay-home notice and with medical certificate related to acute respiratory infection or ARI and people with fever are allowed to vote from 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. 1,100 polling stations were set across Singapore to cater to more than 2.6 million voters. With safety measures, the Elections Department, with the guidance of Ministry of Health, ensured the safety of voters amid the coronavirus pandemic, especially the elderly. Ani Mancilia, UNTV News and Rescue, Singapore. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Researchers in New York are shocked by what they found in apples. Jovic Burmas has the details why.
Plant pathologists in Cornell University in New York, USA have identified a new fungal pathogen that can cause beetle rot disease in apples. Under the genus Coletotrichum, a second related fungus known to infect other fruits with beetle rot disease was also found in apples for the first time. Srijan Asimovic, the paper's senior author of the study, said they found these two species, one that has never been described before and one that has been described before but never on this host. In 2017 and 2018, the researchers were able to isolate Coletotrichum fungi in 400 separate cultures from samples collected in commercial and private apple orchards from 8 New York counties. Both pathogens, the Cineviboracense, named after New York State in Latin, and the C. chrysophyllum, which is found in other fruits but not apples until now, contain 189 species of fungi that cause fruit crops to decay prematurely, including banana, strawberry, citrus, avocado, papaya, mango, and apples. An average of up to 25% apple losses per year from beetle rot in New York State is estimated if protective measures will not be put in place. While other reports say organic farms can lose up to 100% of their crop to the pathogens, which can hit farmers with high damage cost. To combat the disease, the researchers, in collaboration with plant pathologists and apple breeders, plan to identify possible genes that may possess natural resistance to Coletotrichum fungi and be bred into apple cultivars. Jovic Burmas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news here in Australia and in other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Marielle. You stay safe there in Australia.
Basketball games of 2020 will be unlike any previous year in the USA. Justin Masakayan reports why.
NBA action will finally return on July 30th at the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex inside Disney World in Orlando, Florida. Only the best 22 of the league's 30 teams will play. 8 games are set to finish the regular season. From these, the top 7 teams in each conference will advance, with the final 8 seed in each conference being determined by a potential play-in tournament before the traditional 16-team playoffs. Players have begun arriving at Disney World since July 7th, including Orlando Magic players. Upon arrival, the players and coaches are quarantined in their hotel rooms for 36 to 48 hours, where they are limited to room service and must pass 2 tests 24 hours apart before being allowed to join teammates and begin training.
I'm going to be honest with you guys, it was extremely hard to get motivated. Extremely hard, especially with all the circumstances going on in America, all the different injustice, the pandemic, the health crisis.
Hey everyone, it was great to be back. I was actually really excited to be back with the guys, just always being on the court.
A doubleheader is set on July 30th featuring the Jazz and Pelicans, followed by the Clippers versus the Lakers. Social distancing requirements means that fans will not be in attendance for any of the NBA games. The seeding games will end on August 14th, with any play-in games taking place on August 15th and 16th. The playoffs will begin on August 17th. Game 7 of the NBA Finals will take place, if necessary, no later than October 13th. Justin Masakayan, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
With Britain's coronavirus lockdown eased, a sculptor finally gets to showcase his artwork at a historic lawn. He says this is the perfect setting for his masterpieces. Nina Armilio tells us why.
British Indian sculptor Anish Kapoor could finally exhibit his work at one of the UK's best-known stately homes, the Houghton Hall. Kapoor's exhibition of 24 sculptures was due to go on show throughout the grounds and historic interiors of the hall in Norfolk, Eastern England in March, but COVID-19 shelved that plan. But with Britain's further easing of lockdown on July 4, museums, galleries, and heritage attractions have reopened. The exhibition by Kapoor, best known for the orbit at the Olympic Park, created for the London 2012 Olympics, includes major works in mirror and stone and carved marble pieces.
Oh, the artist is irrelevant. Honestly, the artist is irrelevant. The arts, however, have a great deal to do with our sense of belonging, with our sense of citizenship, our sense of the social space that we share.
Houghton is currently the home of the Marquess of Cholmondeley and his wife. Cholmondeley is a direct descendant of Robert Walpole, who built the hall in the 1720s. Born in Mumbai, India, Kapoor has lived and worked in London since the early 1970s, when he moved to study art. For the artist, Houghton's lawn is the perfect setting for his art exhibit.
I've taken on the formality and sort of in this lawn area here, for example, placed 2 works opposite each other, reflecting the wings of the house, and then a series of works in a straight line through on this mile long or whatever it is vista down through the grounds, and then with other works in more secluded little wooded areas. There's something about that formality that appeals to me.
Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news, July 10, 2020. I'm Angelo Castro III. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And I am William Theo. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Have a great weekend and stay safe, everyone.